You ever think about your t-shirt? I mean, really think about it? It's not just some fabric, right? There's this whole hidden high-tech story going on in there. We're talking physics, big data, even AI. And it's all focused on fixing this one tiny ancient problem that could totally transform the clothes we wear. So what if our clothes could be made perfectly? Every single time. No little pulls, no snags, none of those weird defects you sometimes find. For the fashion world, that's not just about making nice stuff. It's a massive, multi-billion-dollar question about waste and about efficiency. See, every single time a thread goes wrong, that's a loss. It can shut down production, it wastes good material, and it makes the final clothes worth less. These tiny, tiny mistakes add up to a huge problem. But, and this is the cool part, now we've got science and software working together to create that perfect thread. And trust me, it's a total game changer. Okay, so how do we actually get to that perfect fabric? Well, before we can find the solution, we really have to get what the problem is. And it all comes down to this one super critical force when you're weaving. All right, let me introduce you to the star of our show, warp tension. Just picture it. You've got hundreds, sometimes thousands, of threads all stretched out long ways on a loom. Those are the warp yarns. They are literally the backbone of the fabric. And the pull on those threads, the tension, it has to be perfect. Absolutely perfect. And this right here is what I like to call the Goldilocks problem of weaving. If that tension is too high, snap, the yarns just break and the whole machine grinds to a stop. But if it's too low, the threads get all tangled up, they jam the machine, and you start weaving mistakes right into the fabric. So it can't be too tight, can't be too loose, it has to be just right. For hundreds of years, getting that tension just right was more of an art form. It was all about an operator's experience, their gut feeling. But what if you could take that art and turn it into a hard science? What if you could build a perfect loom, not out of metal and gears, but out of code? Well, that's exactly what a team of researchers did. First, they basically took a modern loom and translated it into the language of physics, focusing on four key points where the yarn gets stretched. Then, they built what's called a digital twin, basically a perfect copy of that loom, but inside a computer. The whole idea was to predict the warp tension for every single nanosecond of the weaving process. And then, the moment of truth, they had to see if their digital loom actually matched the real thing. And here it is, the aha moment. Just look at this. The data from their computer simulation, it almost perfectly matched what they measured on the real-life machine. I mean, they're practically identical. This was the big breakthrough. It proved the whole model worked. They had actually captured the super complex physics of a loom inside a computer program. So, okay, being able to predict a problem is cool, but solving it? That's the real prize. And this digital loom wasn't just a fancy crystal ball. Nope. It was about to become the key to actually creating that perfect fabric. So, how'd they find those perfect settings? Well, they let some seriously powerful algorithms loose on their simulation. They basically told the computer, hey, run thousands and thousands of tests and find us the perfect recipe for weaving. These algorithms, things like genetic algorithms, they just crunched through all the possibilities, looking for that one magic combination of settings that would give them a nice, low, and super stable warp tension. And the results? Honestly, they were stunning. When they took the computer's perfect settings and plugged them into the real loom, the fabric defects just disappeared. Like, poof, vanished. Not only that, but they also cut the overall strain on the threads by almost 20%. The whole process just got smoother, more reliable. They did it. They finally solved the Goldilocks problem. And this wasn't just some cool experiment in a lab. No way. This breakthrough was the spark. It started a full-on revolution on the factory floor. Companies started to realize, wait a minute, we can take this whole digital twin idea and hook it up to a live AI. And listen, this isn't about replacing people with robots. It's about giving people superpowers. This quote here from Merv Erden, who's an operator at a textile company, it just says it all. This tech, like the stuff from SmartTex, it's a tool that gives them more confidence and, frankly, probably makes their job a whole lot less stressful. So what is this AI actually seeing? Well, this chart breaks it down. We're talking about things like tiny needle marks or problems with the yarn. Just imagine these super smart cameras scanning every single inch of fabric as it's being made, way faster than any human could, and spotting a single broken needle or a little oil spot before it ruins a whole batch of material. And the impact? It's huge. 50%. At one factory, this AI cut the number of fabric rolls that needed a human to check them for mistakes in half. That is a massive amount of time, money, and effort saved, which means we get better clothes made faster.
Okay, so let's recap. We started with a deep physics problem about a single thread, and we've ended up with an AI quality inspector that works 24/7. So what does all this mean for the future of fashion?
All right, let's zoom out. What's the big takeaway here? We saw how these teeny tiny errors in weaving can cause huge problems. But we also saw how we can use digital simulations, those digital twins, to see problems before they even happen. Then we can use AI to step in and fix those problems in real time, right there on the factory floor. And the end result of all of this? It's higher quality clothes, a whole lot less waste, and a much more sustainable way of doing things. This is a big deal. So, this leaves us with a pretty wild thought to chew on. What happens when the factory knows more about your clothes than you do? I mean, this is bigger than just making a perfect t shirt. We're talking about a future where every single thread is woven with intelligence. What does that world look like?